Right now, though, as you know, this radio show has found itself in recent weeks and months, well, in the news. In that interviews that we do on this radio show week after week with Clinton's sexual assault accusers, they have been telling very similar stories. Not just about being used and abused by Bill Clinton, but the second part of the story, which is that Hillary Clinton allegedly has waged a war against the women. The same Hillary who makes a campaign ad that says that female victims of sexual assault have a right to be believed. The same Hillary who accuses Donald Trump of a war on women. So it's becoming a campaign theme. Now, I'm going to do something that I rarely do on this radio show, in that I kind of really like only having on one guest for a very small period, and then the rest of the radio show is just you and I with phone calls. But tonight, actually, most of the radio show is guests. The entire second hour, first of all, the entire second hour is Linda Tripp. Linda Tripp of Monica Lewinsky fame. She is going to be here for the whole second hour. Right now, actually, on the line with me, because earlier I was chatting, since we have kind of become friends, well, not kind of, we really have become friends, myself and Clinton's famous sexual assault accusers who have come on this radio show to tell their story. So I was chatting behind the scenes with one of the famous sexual assault accusers, and she actually told me some information that she heard from Juanita Broadderick, and I think this is huge. NBC has actually said that they're not going to interview Juanita Broadderick, they claim, because there's no new details to her story. First of all, really? Juanita was on this show a few weeks ago, and she dropped new details that NBC never ever aired. And that is that Hillary took her hand weeks after and pretty much implied that she should stay silent about the rape. Again, the same Hillary who puts out tweets and messages on social media and videos that female victims of sexual assault have a right to be believed. But actually, there's another new shocking detail, and I'm going to go right to the source, because joining me right now, well, first of all, let me open up the phone lines, 877-970-2999, 877-970-2999, but joining me right now is Juanita Broadderick. Juanita, first of all, I should say that when I first heard this information from your friend and one of the other assault accusers, I said, okay, right away, we have to get her on the show to put this on the record. So let's do that right here, right now. Juanita Broadderick, welcome back to Aaron Klien Investigative Radio, and thanks again for coming here a second time.
You're very welcome, Aaron.
So, okay, first of all, how are you feeling? Because when you were first here in November, this was when you talked, and it was pretty much the first interview that you had given in almost a decade. Now, you're all over the place in that the news media is making Juanita Broadderick, as they rightly should, into an issue for Hillary and for Bill. How are you doing with all of that?
I'm fine with it. You know, I feel like it was time to come out again, and I'm really fine with it.
I'm really glad that you are fine with it. So I'm wondering, because I want to go back to 1978. This is when, of course, you were the victim of Bill Clinton, then Arkansas Attorney General. He was running for governor. He singled you out during a visit to your nursing home, and then the rest, shall we say, is history. But actually, the rest is not history. You told us on this radio show that Bill Clinton contacted you again many years later in 1991 to apologize personally for what he did to you. But actually, did he contact you immediately after his crimes against you? And if so, how did he do that, and what happened?
Yeah, just a few weeks afterwards. He called the nursing home that I owned, and they patched the call through to my office, and I didn't know that it was him. And he immediately said, "Hi, this is Bill Clinton. I was just wondering when you were coming back to Little Rock again." And
Whoa.
it just caught me so off guard. I had not expected anything like this at all. And I told him I would not be coming back to Little Rock again, and definitely would not ever be seeing him again, and I hung up. And you would think that that would have been the end of it, but it wasn't. About 2 or 3 weeks later, I was in a meeting, and my administrator came into the meeting, and she said, "You're wanted on the phone." And she said, "It's Mr. Clinton." And I told her, I said, "Please tell him I'm not here." And then this happened. She wasn't aware of what had happened to me, only the two nurses the two director of nursings were the only two that had known what he had done to me. So she wasn't aware, but she was very caught off guard why I wouldn't speak to him. And I went into her office later and I said, if there's ever any phone calls from him, I can't explain, but I do not want to have any phone calls from him. Whenever he calls, please tell him that I'm not here. And then it happened a couple of more times when somebody else, like when the ward secretary answered the phone, and she said, Mr. Clinton is on the phone. And I just looked at her and I said, please tell him I'm not here. And I think there was probably a total of maybe 4 or 5 calls within a 6-month period after the assault. And I think he finally figured out I wasn't going to talk to him again.
So just to be clear, because, it's so hard for me to even to be speaking to you now and to know what you went through. And the word is not just assaults. The word, unfortunately, is rape. He raped you. And then afterwards, he called you. He called you 4 times.
Yes.
What do you think he wanted from you? And how dare he? What did he want from you? What do you think?
I think he thought, well, this is just a usual occurrence. I probably was with him, and I'm wondering when I can get with this woman again. I was just, I was shocked, to say the least, that he would have the audacity to call me after what he did to me.
So I want to go from there because I don't want you to have to relive any more than you already have. And the only reason, by the way, that I'm even asking you this question is, Juanita Broadderick, is because there's a larger pattern here that seems to be coming out. Because it wasn't just you that he contacted after the sexual assault. I'm hearing from others, but I don't yet have permission to put it on the radio, but some other of the famous accusers who have the exact same story. It's shocking. It is sociopathic. Isn't almost.
Yes, it is, to say the very least. It's very shocking.
So from here, I want to pivot to the events of the last few days. First of all, NBC did the interview with you. This was, of course, a very famous interview where you first spoke out on Dateline 1999. But amazingly, they held the interview. NBC says they held it because they were vetting you. They held it but during the period where Bill Clinton was about to be where the Senate was voting on whether to impeach him or not. You would think it would be very relevant for Dateline NBC to put out a rape accuser. It could have obviously impacted the impeachment trial, but they didn't. Fast forward to now. I understand that NBC has been in contact with you, and they claim that they're not pursuing the story because they claim you have nothing new to say. This is unbelievable to me, and I understand also that Andrea Mitchell has called you and conducted a phone interview with you. Tell us about that.
I had so many calls the day that I sent out the tweet that caused so much, oh gosh, I don't know really what you say, so much excitement. But anyway, I picked up the phone, and it was Andrea Mitchell, and she said, "Hi, this is Andrea Mitchell from NBC. Could I speak with you?" And I said, "Sure, you can, we can speak." And she said, "Do you mind if I record this?" And I said, "No, not at all." I was really surprised NBC was calling. And so she kept saying, "Well, wait just a few minutes. I'm sorry for the delay, and we'll get this ready here in just a minute." And she asked me, the only question she asked me was about my confrontation with Hillary 2 weeks after the assault. And that seemed to be the only thing that she was really interested in. And when I started to explain to Andrea about what had happened, she immediately, I don't know, there just was a change in her voice, and she immediately said, "Well, how do you know that's what she was thinking?"
Well, but I just want to interrupt you so that I just want to interrupt you.
She was questioning me.
I just want to interrupt you for a minute.
Yeah, she wanted to, I don't really know what. Maybe that's investigative reporting. I don't know if she's really an investigative reporter, but she questioned me, and she questioned what I was saying, my sincerity, and that offended me But I went on with the very short interview, and she was saying they needed to get that for the evening news. And she said, "Can I call you back?" And I said, "Yes, you can." But I never took any more calls from her. And I understand that they didn't want to put that on the evening news, which is fine with me.
Yeah, just to be clear here, because for the audience, for what you're describing, and by the way, I'm going to be taking phone calls immediately after this break, so 877-970-2999. Any topic is fair game. Taking calls next, 877-970-2999. But when you're referring to Hillary Clinton, this goes back, this was apparently a few weeks after the incident, where you were in a state of shock and denial, you told me back in November. You saw Hillary Clinton at a private fundraiser because you were raising money for the Bill and Hillary Clinton, for Bill's campaign for governor, and she took you by the hand, and she said, you told me, she said, "I just want you to know that how much Bill and I appreciate the things that you do for him. Do you understand everything you do?" And you told me that you took that as that she was again, female victims of a sexual assault have a right to be believed, she says, that she was trying to silence you. So, Juanita Broadderick, thanks again for being here on Aaron Klien Investigative Radio.
Oh, thank you, Aaron.